I'm 83 years old, and I've spent the last few weeks staring at the same four walls, wondering how a life can look so full from the outside and still feel like it never really happened. The furniture is where it's always been. My watch still ticks. My pension still deposits like clockwork, but I don't recognize the man who lived in this house for the past 40 years. That's the part no one tells you. You can follow all the rules. Save your money, do your job, be on time, be polite. You can build the scaffolding of a life so carefully that you forget to ever step into it. My name is Harold Lansing. I was a bank manager. I wore ties for 45 years and kept my shoes polished even on the weekends. My daughter used to joke that I ironed my pajamas. I didn't, but I get why she said that. I was dependable, predictable, measured. I thought that made me good. I married Elena when I was 25. She had eyes that held the seasons, soft in spring, fiery in autumn. She laughed with her whole face, like joy had always lived there. And I loved her, though I rarely said it out loud. Saying things out loud wasn't how I was raised. We had a daughter, Claire, and I thought, now I have everything. But instead of enjoying that life, I spent decades preserving it, guarding it, postponing the joy until the risks were lower and the conditions were perfect. I was 65 when I retired. They gave me a gold watch. Applause, speeches, handshakes. I came home that night thinking, now I will begin. Now I will live the life I saved so carefully for. But the house was quiet. Elena set the table like always, 2 plates, forks perfectly aligned. But there was no celebration, no spark. We had spent so long talking about someday that we didn't know how to exist in now. She asked me how the party was, and I said it was fine. I asked what she did today, and she said, oh, just the usual. And then we chewed our food in silence, like strangers renting the same space. That was the moment I understood something had gone missing. Not all at once, not with a dramatic slam of a door, just slowly, invisibly, like steam slipping out of a kettle. I had waited my entire adult life for retirement to finally begin living, but she had stopped waiting a long time ago. And that's when I started to realize it, the lie I'd told myself for 40 years. Later will be better than now. I said it when I skipped family dinners to get ahead on paperwork. I said it when Claire wanted to play and I told her I had important things to do. I said it when Elena asked if we could take a weekend trip and I pointed to the budget. I thought I was being wise, that waiting was maturity, that sacrifice now would build freedom later. But the truth is, most of my life was spent just preparing. I was always one more project away from resting, one more bonus away from traveling, one more quarter away from joy. And so I built my days like stepping stones, always looking at the next one, never planting my feet. I see it now in people younger than me, meals half-eaten, phones always in hand, waiting for something better. Planning a perfect life while ignoring the imperfect one sitting right next to them. The fog I lived in, it's spreading. I can see it in your eyes too. You think you're being smart, careful, responsible. You think that by putting things off, you're buying time. But you're not buying anything, you're borrowing. And debt like that collects interest. For me, it started small, little postponements. I missed one school concert because of a quarterly review, then a weekend trip because the pipes needed fixing, then a dinner reservation because a colleague needed help with his numbers. I was the guy people could count on. The man who never let anything slip through the cracks, except I let everything slip through the cracks, because the things that mattered weren't on the calendar. They didn't have deadlines or memos or spreadsheets. They were soft and spontaneous. They were a child's voice saying, "Come see this." They were a wife's hand reaching across the couch just to hold. And I missed them. One by one, I told myself, we'll do something nice next month. Or, after this is over, we'll celebrate. The lie worked because it sounded temporary, like I just needed to get through this one thing. But there was always another thing. It felt noble at the time, like I was building something worthwhile, like I was buying a better life. And then, there was that one Saturday morning. Claire was 7, the kind of kid who thought in colors. She came into the kitchen in her pajamas, holding a map she had drawn with markers, bright red trails, blue stars, a big green tree marked Secret Fort. She wanted us to go exploring in the woods behind our house, just her and me. I still remember the smell of that morning toast and fresh coffee. The kitchen light had that dull yellow glow. My briefcase was on the table, papers sticking out. I had brought home a pile of loan files I needed to finish. A client was coming in Monday, and I wanted to be ready. I didn't yell at her. I didn't even sigh. I just looked at her and said, "If I finish this today, we'll go somewhere even better next time." That sentence haunts me more than most of the things I actually did say. Claire stood there for a second, her eyes dropped to the map. Then she folded it up slowly, pressed each crease like she was trying to make it disappear. She said, "Okay, Daddy," and walked out of the room. There was this moment of stillness after she left. The clock ticked, the coffee maker hissed, and then nothing. I could have gone after her. I could have said, "You know what, never mind, let's go." But I didn't. I sat down, opened the first file, and started reading about someone else's mortgage. That map stayed on the kitchen counter for a few days. Then it vanished. I never asked where it went. We never went into those woods. It was always next time. And then next time turned into someday. And someday turned into never. I told myself it didn't matter, that she'd forget, that kids are resilient, that what I was doing was for her too. But I've come to understand something I didn't know back then. Children don't remember what you promised. They remember who showed up. And when they grow up, they carry that silence with them like a language they never fully learned. That's the hardest part. It's not the yelling or the fights that hurt the most. It's the quiet, the way it echoes years later when the house is still but your memory isn't. When the laughter you missed becomes louder than the noise you chased. I thought I had more time to fix things. When I finally retired, I walked through the front door like a man arriving home after a long war. Elena had set a roast in the oven. The house smelled like rosemary and garlic. There was soft music playing, something old, something slow. She'd lit a candle on the table, just one. That was her way. I thought this was our beginning. But she had spent 3 decades learning how to live without me. She asked me what I wanted to do next, and I said, everything. Let's go everywhere, anywhere. I had brochures, plans, lists, Paris in spring, Maine in fall, wine country, train rides. But she was tired. She had a cough that wouldn't go away. We thought it was nothing. It wasn't. Lung cancer, fast and cruel. I was 67, she was 64. We barely had time to process it before everything turned into hospital visits and medication schedules. One afternoon, a few weeks before she passed, I sat beside her bed at home. The TV was on low. The air smelled like antiseptic and stale flowers. There was a scarf on the chair next to her, the one she used to wear on Sunday mornings. She hadn't worn it in years. She looked at me. Her voice was dry but sharp. She said, "You always said later. What are you waiting for now?" I didn't know what to say. I reached for her hand. It was cold. Her fingers barely moved. There was a silence so heavy it pressed against my chest. A silence that held every unspoken thing between us. I tried to tell her how sorry I was, that I would have changed it all if I could. But those words don't land when they come too late. They just float. She closed her eyes while I was still talking. That was the last time we spoke. I've played that moment back hundreds of times, thinking maybe if I'd said something different, looked at her differently, she would have smiled. But the truth is, the damage wasn't from that moment. It was from the thousands that came before it. The ones I wasted. That's when the realization finally arrived. You don't lose your life in a day. You lose it in increments. In the dinners skipped, the maps ignored, the glances not returned. You think you're just postponing joy, but really you're canceling it. And one day, when everything finally slows down, you'll turn around and realize there's no one left waiting. If you're watching this late at night, half listening while scrolling through your phone, stop, look around. Is someone in the next room waiting for your attention? Is there a message you've been meaning to send? A conversation you keep postponing because it feels too heavy? Let me warn you, the weight of silence is far heavier. Don't tell yourself you'll fix it later. Later is not guaranteed. Later is a mirage. Later is where regret goes to build a home. I know what it's like to wake up at 83 and realize you were never really present for the life you were supposed to be living. To have people call you dependable and realize they meant emotionally absent. If someone still wants your time, give it to them, even if it's awkward. Even if it's inconvenient, even if you're tired, because one day you'll wish for that inconvenience like air, and if you've already missed too many moments, don't lie to yourself again. Don't say you'll do better soon. Either do it now or accept the ache. But don't pretend. I'm not asking you to fix everything. I'm telling you what happens if you don't, because I've seen it. I've lived it. So tonight, I'm doing the one thing I should have done decades ago. I'm calling Claire. No speeches, no excuses. Just 3 honest words I kept saving for later. I'm here. I don't know if she'll answer, but for the first time in 40 years, I'm not waiting. I live it every time I wake up in this quiet house, walk past her chair, and feel the absence that never learned to leave, still empty, still cold. But tonight, I'm not adding to the silence.